Welcome to Minibytes session 19. My name is George Tyson. I'm a Senior Education Advisor with North Yorkshire Local Authority, and I also work as the EdTech Advisor for North Yorkshire Schools ICT. North Yorkshire Schools ICT is the traded arm which supports all technician services, technology and change in schools, so hardware, software, cloud, surfaces, touchscreens, iPads, everything and anything comes through Schools ICT. If you want to use their services, you can do and get the training to go with all these devices as well. We're brought to you via NES today, which is North Yorkshire Education Services, and North Yorkshire Education Services is the traded arms of all the council's support network, which can go from grounds maintenance through to technology, through to catering and everything else in between. NES is rebranding with Schools ICT and the EdTech service to form NES Digital in the future, which is what we're bringing you these 21 and 21 Minibytes about. So session 19 is about what do Office 365 apps do that the desktop app doesn't, or that the desktop tools don't. It is a Microsoft code today, so if you are going for the Innovative Educator Award, you can get yourself 300 more credits by typing in the code TGTA 463421 after the session. And if you pop that in on the education.microsoft.com website, once you've signed in or registered, you'll be well on your way to becoming an MIA. Okay, Microsoft Innovative Educator. So that's the end of this slide from our desktop app version of PowerPoint, and I'm going to move smoothly into the web version. So I'm using a web browser here, and you can see I've got a few tabs open already. I'm going to be moving across these tabs in turn. This is my Outlook web app to start with, and I'm going to come back to this later on, but any of the tools you have on the desktop, such as Outlook, you will have a web app version as well. Here's my Microsoft Office Home, and you can see all the web apps are down the side here, and I can see all the apps and I want to in one place. I have done some specialist sessions on PowerPoint and OneNote, for example, so I'm not going to look at them too much today, as well as Forms, but we're going to be looking at those apps which overlap with what you'd normally find on your desktop, namely Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and we may have time to look at some storage equivalent of your hard disk, which would be OneDrive. So let's have a look and see where we go. We're going to start off with Word. So this is a Word document here, and you can see that I've made my Word document in the Word Online, and it's a shared document. So that's the first thing you can do with a Word document, is you can actually share it with other people. How do I do this? Well, if I was on the desktop app, I'd attach it to an email and send it to someone. In Office 365, I can share it directly with that person, again by their email address, but by using the button up here. If I click on Share in the top right hand corner, it will then bring up the sharing window. I can specify anybody I want to, and I can choose the status of the sharing. By clicking on this drop down here, I've got 4 main options, although depending on how your tenancy is set up, you may have fewer options. Either anyone with a link can access this Word document. People in my tenancy, so Schools ICT, with the link can access the document. People with existing access, or specific people. And you can see here I've ticked specific people and given their details. The other settings I'm allowed to do is allowing them to edit or just to view. If I untick that box, they cannot change anything. There's also an option here of open review mode only. If you click on the little eye, it does tell you about review mode. And review mode is all about leaving comments and suggested changes, but it's not actually changing the document itself. So you can see where the comments are in that. You can also use this slider here for blocking the download. So if you share a document, but you don't want other people to download it and reuse it or edit it, you can block the download there, and that means that people can only access the live link. This is really beneficial if you're sharing confidential documents, because you can share it, do not allow editing, allow review mode only, and then block the download. And that means that people can be prevented from downloading your document, and they just like that, they won't be able to download it and they won't be able to edit it. They'll just be able to see what you've shared. So there are all the options there. And if you click on that, you then get the sharing panel, and you send a link to individuals by name. You can pop some details in the message there. So this is the file I referred to. So this is the file I referred to. If I click on send, it will send an email to the name of the group of people. I'm going to send this to Sophie Watson, who is actually I'll send to Amy because Sophie's already got access to it. Let's see if Amy turns up. Oh, I'm searching for, so I'll go back to Sophie. Sophie, you're going to get this twice, but don't worry because I know you're already in the email. I click on Sophie Watson there. She'd get the details, and I click on send, and that will then go straight to Sophie's email address. Sophie's email address is in my computer already, and it would just go through and Sophie would get the link. Now I can see here that this document is already in use. The circles with initials in indicate other people are in this document. So right now I can see that Sophie Watson is on page 1. And if I click on go to location, I can find out where she is in page 1. There we go. If my colleague Sophie is on there, she can just go and click anywhere in the document, maybe somewhere in this lorem ipsum text, if you don't mind, please, Sophie, and do some typing. Okay, so I can watch Sophie there typing live, and she's going through. She's typing various things. There we go. So there we go. That's Sophie's text, and we can interact as we go. And it's essentially sharing a piece of paper, and it's probably more interactive and there's less personal space invasion going on. Sophie will see my highlighting live. I will see her text changing live, and together we can change the document and work on it in one place at the same time. And as you can see, it's within one cursor point of each other as well. So that's sharing documents and actually sharing documents across each other. So let's have a look further down. We can see this document goes on quite a long way. There's quite a lot of space filling text there. I used this for the sway demonstration a few sessions ago. But let's have a look at something else. So I've shared the document. I've jointly edited the document, but I can also add comments to things. So if I go on the review pane here, I've got check accessibility, which I'll look at soon, and I've also got show comments. Next to that, I've got a plus, which is a new comment. And this is something new, is I can @mention a person who's in this shared document, and they will receive that as a task to do. So if I @mention, I'm going to @mention Christian Ripley here, who's one of my colleagues. Please can you look at new text for paragraph 2. And what I can do is I can then assign that to Christian Ripley. I tick that box and send it. She then gets the task sent to her in her email, and she will receive that task via Teams or via email. She can check on that and see what's going on. I'm just going to do that again, just saying this is a 21 in 21 demo. Again, I can just click on that and she can see there that it's gone further forwards. OK, so that's a shared document and sharing tasks and assigning work, so you can get individuals to work on their areas. Great for getting a school newsletter written in no time at all, but also great for working on a collaborative document or something more chunky in scope. For example, if you're looking at school documents or prospectuses or that sort of thing. Let's have a look and see if my document actually makes sense. On this review pane, there's also a check accessibility option. If I click on check accessibility, it pops out a side there and it shows you details about what's going on. Now, accessibility in this context is to support visually impaired people who may not be able to see the full document, or to support people who are using screen readers. So screen reading technology is a sort of technology which will read out loud what's going on in an image or in a text document. It will say about headlines, it will read through the words. But if there's not alternative text, it cannot translate that picture into text. What accessibility does, when I check the accessibility, is it shows me all the errors I have in my document. So here we go. I've got a missing alternative text here. So picture 6, I can just, there we go. So if I click on picture, I can go on the picture tab up here and alt text. I can just type in an image of George. OK, and that will help someone out. A yellow background. OK, so that's it. And that will be my edited text there. Again, I don't need to worry about doing anything different to it. So just close that down now. And I can see that if I recheck, picture 6 will vanish because my alt text is in place. And I've now got 5, 4, 7, 3, 2, and 1. You've also got other tools like editor here. And the editor allows you to do autocorrect as you go through, and allows you to do predictive text to some extent as well. If you click on the editor tool, you can see here it gives you a score on your document, a percentage, and how formal is the document going to be, spelling, grammar, and you can get all these tools summarized in the editor, which would take far more than 21 minutes to go through by themselves. But you've got all of these things in place by the editor, and you can go through and check what's going on. The editor score will give you some details. So if I just select that text there, I can look at the editor and it just goes through formal writing. It's casual writing in this situation. I can look at the spellings, and obviously all my dull or citamet and my lorem ipsum random text is scoring really badly. I've got 99 issues to solve, but it looks like I've done everything else pretty well. Okay, I can also check for similarity to online sources. So if it sounds familiar, I can check there for if it's been copied and pasted from Wikipedia. Sometimes you need to pay extra for that, but it is in Word online, which you can do that quite easily. The other one you can do is if I move across to View, I've mentioned Immersive Reader before, but you can do Immersive Reader anywhere in Word. So let's just pick that starting point there, which was this GT School News. Immersive Reader, and you'll now hear Immersive Reader reading out my document. I've talked about how it can translate, but let's just move on through.
GT School News. Welcome to the Modern Technologies newsletter. My name is George, and I am a Senior Education Advisor with North Yorkshire.
So that really helps. You've got all these icons up here for you to explore with Immersive Reader to use more interactive tools, and again, that's only online. We can carry on with Immersive Reader in different tools like OneNote, and also you'll find it wherever you find the Immersive Reader. So in Teams as well, in the Teams chat, you have Immersive Reader as well. It's coming through in more and more Office Outlook, more and more Office products as time goes on. So let's go on from here. I'm going to close that Word document we've been changing and using, and I'm going to pop quickly into my presentation software into PowerPoint 365. There's a few things in PowerPoint 365 we're going to have talked about, which are really interesting to look at. You've again got different tools here, but this is what I quite like. I've drawn 4 shapes, a bit higgledy-piggledy. Now, as long as they're not overlapping, it might take me a little bit of time to try and align these shapes. How I would normally do that is select the shapes, and I would then go to look at the shapes. I would try and align. I would click on the shape menu up here, shape tab, and I'd then go arrange. If I click on the drop down of arrange, I can find the align. I can align center or right or left, top, bottom, distribute, or alternatively, I can just be very, very quick. And if I just click on the 3 dots below present, sorry, once I've got them selected, select them, 3 dots below present, and click on the arrange tab there, hover over it, and I've got something called autofix. Autofix now positions objects for you so they best suit the layout you're trying to get to. So in this situation, autofix term, if I put this a little bit more in line, and I'm going to pull the circle down slightly so you can see I'm unevenly spaced. If I do this and click on the 3 dots and autofix, the AI in PowerPoint tries to figure out what I want to do with these shapes. And again, it's keeping the rectangle offline because it's too far away. One more time, arrange, autofix, and it should try and center all the objects and distribute them equally. They're all left aligned at the moment. You might be able to tell that from the shapes. Okay, so that's autofix, which is quite nice just for getting a jumble into a neat arrangement straight away. There's also other things you can do in PowerPoint as well. So I'm going to just delete these, and I'm going to make a new slide. So I'm going to do right click on new slide. And I've talked about these before. Get rid of my shape slide. If I want to get some help with designing my PowerPoint, I want to click on this magic wand here below comments called designer. Now, whatever I type in here will start to inspire PowerPoint to use the AI services available to it and figure out what I want to talk about. So Father Christmas brings up Christmas ideas straight away for decorations. Or I can have holly if I want to, or I can go for something a bit more modern and traditional, but using the same images. So without putting too many images in there, Designer works quite nicely, and you need to put text in as well, and it prompts and brings in images for you as well. So that's what PowerPoint can do when you're online, and you get the styles as well, which come through in the style sheets. You've got the different designs on this tab here. You can pick different styles if you want to format something quickly, and that's exactly the same as you get on the desktop as well. Okay, so we're going to move on now from PowerPoint Designer and Styles. Presenting live, I've covered before. If you click on the drop down there, you can present live, and that shares a link to a website and a QR code if you have them, and a numbered code, a short link if you want to, and then people can follow your PowerPoint presentation online. If you use some of the clever tools in PowerPoint, when you're on the slideshow tab here, you've got always use subtitles. On the drop down there, you get to select your spoken language. For mine, it's English UK. Select my subtitle language, and again, it can be English or it can be something else if I want it to be. And I can go further on and decide where the subtitles are displayed. I can then go through the audio settings and pick my microphone, and when I'm presenting my PowerPoint slide, it will have subtitles inserted by the AI as I'm talking. So let's move on from PowerPoint now. We've talked about rehearsing with Coach in a previous video, so you can look at that elsewhere. Let's move on to the email. So looking at email here, this is my inbox, my Outlook inbox here. and I'm going to send a new email. I've just clicked on new message and I've got an email here. I want to share a file. Now, if I did this in desktop Outlook, I would be attaching a copy of the file to the email and sending that copy of the file to someone. It's the same as wrapping up a photocopy of the letter in an envelope and posting it to someone. In the cloud version of Outlook, you can click on attach and you can then get the suggestion straight away. You can pick where it's going to go, but I'm going to just pick my newsletter from before. You'll notice straight away that it's not just a Word document icon, it's got a cloud behind it. That's because I'm actually sharing a link to my OneDrive for this newsletter, and I can make sure that I can do that, or I can choose a different route. There's 3 different icons here. That little arrow with the download arrow allows me to download the file to my computer. The down arrow without the flat bit on the bottom is next to expanding menu, and the cross is removing the file from my attachments. If I click on the more actions, the downwards V, I've got some options here. Previewing it allows me to see the file I've attached. Manage access is going to be come to in a second. Open a new tab, download, attaches copy and copy link. These all seem fairly familiar apart from perhaps manage access and attaches a copy. Right now, this attachment is not a file being put in an envelope and sent to my colleague. This is a link being sent to my colleague who will then open up the link and they get access to my OneDrive version and that one document on my OneDrive. If I wanted them to have a physical copy of it, so attaches a copy, I'd click on this. It'll take a moment and you'll see the icon changes from being the shaped cloud icon to being the more traditional Word icon. I can add another file here and you can see the difference. I can add a different file here, sorry. And you can see the difference. This one's a cloud shared document. This one's a copy, an attachment of the document. I can't control these attachments, but I can control these cloud links. How to control the cloud links? Again, more options and manage access. And from the manage access, I can pick recipients can edit, recipients can view, anyone in my organization can edit, or anyone in my organization can view. And this is useful for sharing files straight away and keeping the restrictions in place so only the right people see the right documents. Okay, so that's the end of the Outlook tour. For this one, I'm just going to discard this email here. Okay, and that just goes away. And I'm going to move slightly further on into my OneDrive. In the last minute here, there's my OneDrive. And if I skim down to the very bottom, I've got my school news draft here. This is a document we started off with. I can see if I hover over it, how many views it's had, who's viewed it, and I can see activity highlights. I can see Sophie was editing that 31 minutes ago. I can see the conversations I've had when I shared the file. I can see how many viewers it's had, how many individual views it's had, and when they were. I can look through in more detail at this, clicking on the see details there, and this opens up the file names. It tells me what the file is. It shows me a preview there and who's got access by name and by link and things which have happened today in that document. So I mentioned Christiane at the start of this session. I replied to a comment, which was my mention to Christiane. I've commented in the file. Sophie and I have edited the file and it was created not long ago. So that's all a summary of the file. So if you share it as a link, you can see how those links are very usefully tracked straight away. Clicking on the 3 dots next to the file gives me 2 more options. If I go along all these options here, the first one is version history I'm going to look at. Clicking on version history, you can see when each person modified it. And in actual fact, if I want to ignore Sophie's edits and my recent edits, I can click on that version from 39 minutes ago and get to an older version. And this will just pile up and pile up and pile up. So every time edits occur, you get a new version created, a new version saved when the person stops using the document. And that allows you to see version histories. And if you make a massive catastrophic error, you can go back in time to a previous version very easily by clicking the 3 dots. Finally, and this is the last one, if I wanted to withdraw access to a shared file, if I click on manage access as an option here, this is something you can't do with emails because once you've sent out the attachment, it's gone. If I want to stop sharing it with everybody, I can just click stop sharing straight away and that locks all the doors and it's just me again. If I want to change it, I can click on the drop down here and I could remove an individual, for example, Christiane here. When I click that, I get a prompt. Do I want to remove that person's access? And click on remove and Christiane will no longer have access to that document, but Sophie does. Any changes Christiane made will still be there, but she no longer has access to edit that document. So that is document access control. You can do that with all sorts of files, including PowerPoint slides and everything else. You can look at the version history, you can look at automations and everything else in there, but that's far too much for 21 minutes. So they are just a few of the things that you can do in Office 365 web apps, which you cannot do on the desktop apps, and I hope it's been of use to you. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the chat as always. Otherwise, thank you for listening and thank you for sharing your time with me over this last few weeks. We've got a couple more sessions left before the end of 21 in 21 Minibytes, but you can find all the videos on the Schools ICT website, which is schoolsict.co.uk. If you look on the training tab at the top, you can drop down to 21 in 21 Minibytes. We'll share the link in the chat as well, but thank you again.